These videos will make you question everything. So remember, this is for entertainment purposes only. Let's check it out.
Well, I'm delighted to say I'm joined now by Neil deGrasse Tyson. Neil, great to see you.
Yeah, thanks for hanging
here on your side of the pond.
Yes, yes.
You've got another brilliant book out, Starry Messenger, Cosmic Perspectives on Civilization.
Yeah.
As always, I have to ask you at the top.
Just released in paperback, just
right.
a week ago.
I think I talked to you when the hardback came out. Just in a nutshell, for those who haven't read this or any of your stuff, what is the simple, normal person's version of what this is about?
Things look different from a cosmic perspective. And I think I quote Apollo 14 astronaut Edgar Mitchell in this book. And really, the entire book is about that quote. May I, if I may? He says, because, by the way, when we went to the moon to explore the moon, we looked over our shoulders and we discovered Earth for the first time. It was like a firmware upgrade in our awareness of who we were to each other, to the planet, and to nature. That's when the United States founded the Environmental Protection Agency, was 1970, while we were on the moon. The first Earth Day was 1970, while we were on the moon. And there's a whole litany of actions that people took, laws that were...
So you're saying we actually... He's saying it, y'all. I didn't say it. He said it. We actually went to the moon. I know it's about to be a whole big chaos in the comment section of people saying, but we didn't go to the moon.
We're passed to protect Earth. Here's what he noticed. He looked back and he said, you develop an instant global consciousness, a people orientation, an intense dissatisfaction with the state of the world, and a compulsion to do something about it. From out there on the moon, international politics looks so petty. You want to grab a politician by the scruff of the neck and drag him 250,000 miles out and say, look at that, you son of a... Can I say that?
Absolutely.
This is uncensored, right?
That might be what we need to do, though. In order to get them to snap out of it, realize this thing is bigger than them, and the people are important, and you're supposed to be for the people, of the people. Maybe we need to snatch them and take them up to the moon and show them what Earth is in the grand scheme of things, and then maybe they can snap out of it. Both sides.
Uncensored. You just did.
So he was feeling the cosmic perspective. When you're that high up, you don't see the national borders. And we're just one species down there on this spaceship Earth, alone in the darkness of the universe, with no hint that help will come from elsewhere to save us from ourselves, as Carl Sagan had poetically referenced. And so you're changed. And so what I attempt in this book is to take places where we have arguments over holiday dinners when the uncles and cousins and aunts come in, and say, what would that look like from a cosmic perspective? And half of those arguments evaporate in that instant. Because, like, what are you fighting about? Like, really? Can't you see why we are more the same than different? You don't see that because our tribal urges will pick every little thing that you can possibly say is different. Is your skin differently reflective of sunlight than mine? Well, let's make a big deal of that. Do you worship different gods or no gods or any? Let's make a big deal of that. Oh, you sleep with this person and this instead of that person of our own species. Let's make a big deal of that.
Why are we so flawed human beings?
I think that feature mattered to our survival 100,000 years ago, 50,000 years ago. Because you don't know if another group that showed up on the horizon, will they harm you, take your resources, or not? You don't know that. But you do know that other people in your tribe, they smell like you, they kind of look like you, and it's easy to distinguish them from the others. So that may have had survival value 50, 100,000 years ago. Today, when we have civilization and society and our intellect to know and understand our DNA, it's quite, I don't want to call it childish. Well, yeah, okay.
Yeah, but you're giving people too much credit. Yeah, he giving them way too much credit. To say people aren't childish, they are. They still have that mindset of the fear and different things like that. And to a certain extent, I think we all should have. You should be skeptical if something new, a new species approaches. You know, we should be a little bit apprehensive at that. especially when we don't have the information. So that's why I get upset when I feel like they are withholding information from us.
I'm going to say it. This tribalism in the world feels childish to me. It's what would an alien say? They come say, "Oh, you're all the same species." You say, "Yeah, okay," and you're fighting for these reasons, but you're the same species, right? What are you doing? Why? And then they'll run home and report there's no sign of intelligent life on Earth. Just saying.
I did the last, like I mentioned to you before in a previous interview, I did the last television interview with Professor Stephen Hawking. And it was a fascinating insight into that remarkable brain that he had. But one question really stuck with me, and one answer did. I said to him, what is, in your estimation, the biggest threat to mankind? And he said, when artificial intelligence learns to self-design. And other people have extrapolated that to mean, look, the thing is, when AI gets really advanced and gets potentially sentient, it will look at human beings and think, well, this lot are a complete waste of time, right? Why on earth, what's the point of them, right? For the reasons that you've just brilliantly outlined, and they'll just basically kill us all.
And make a world for themselves.
Yes,
right.
It doesn't involve the human frailties.
Well, just consider that right now, AI is basically everywhere. There's no tech company that isn't fully exploiting the value of AI to their business model. In my field, which is not even a corporate entity, it's just science. In my field, astrophysics, we've been using AI at any possible point that it could advance us. We use it, and we've been using it for decades.
Why aren't you terrified of it? Because you're very positive about AI.
Okay, there are people who will read you the riot act about the future of AI, and many of them are deep in the field. So I'm not here to undo their concerns. All I will tell you is AI in its sort of restricted form, where I have a task, I don't want to do it. Let a machine do it, and let's teach it and have it machine learn what it is I need it to do and have it do it. That's kind of how AI has manifested in society.
Why do you not fear that AI can become genuinely sentient and start making decisions completely on its own?
Yeah, it depends. You can make a decision, but how much power are you going to grant it? All right?
No, that's the thing, though. It's gonna do it on its own. See, this is where me and him disagree, because I feel like AI, it'll get to the point where it looks at human beings and it'll say, you know what? We both gotta coexist on this planet here. This planet called Earth, we both gotta coexist, and they continuously destroy it. They see us continuously destroying the planet. So then it thinks in its mind, okay, in order to preserve a planet that I have to reside on, I gotta get rid of them. And then that will be the end of us. That's the way my mind thinks about it.
And look, I don't want to put words in your mouth here, and I certainly don't compare my brain to yours. However, my simple mind, my simple mind says to me that, as with the internet, as with all great new innovations, but particularly with AI, given its enormous power, I can absolutely see all the positives, especially in science, in medicine, all these things.
And there's an existential risk on the other side of that.
Well,
yes.
because inevitably, people with nefarious motives will get their hands on it, and they will want AI to perform in a negative, destructive manner, because that is the nature of the beast. It's why when Lance Armstrong was the best cyclist in the world, he doped to get an even bigger advantage, so they all followed him and they all started doping, and it ruined cycling. It's the nature of the beast that humans with our brains will take. Some people with really dark aspirations for this new wonder thing will take it and misuse it. How are you not as scared as I am about that?
Yeah, so I think any technological advance has always had a dark side in the hands of nefarious actors. So yes, AI poses an existential risk. So too did nuclear weapons, right? So too do weapons in general, all right? And so I was on a board that served the Pentagon, a defense innovation board it was, and we confronted this issue with AI in the military. And we arrived at the conclusion that if a kill decision has to be made, a human being needs to be in that loop. You cannot have AI make that decision without a human being participating in it. Recognizing that AI is inevitable in that world, and so but you want to put in some constraints. And yes, this is not the rogue actor, right? These are rational people making these decisions. So yes, we should be concerned. I agree. But does that mean you want to shut down all of AI? I don't think that's.
No, we're not saying that. But at the same time, we're already hearing stories leak out. We don't know if they're true or not, but it still puts the thought in our brain. We're hearing stories leak out of AI being able to tap into satellites and rebuild itself. Go around the human's commands and orders for it to kill, or a human order for it to kill switch, to hit the kill switch on it. It went around and tapped into a satellite and rebuilt itself. So if we're hearing stories like that, y'all don't think that's a possibility? Or is it just me? I'm just way out there. Maybe that's what it is.
But do you think, with your brilliant mind, do you not think that AI can ever self-design?
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean,
because that's the crucial question.
Yeah, I mean, there's
what
different levels of this. I was quite impressed the day I learned that I could take software, tell it what I wanted it to do, and it completely wrote my computer program for me. And it was a flawless program. I said, whoa, that's good.
Yeah, but is that based on the fact that it's got access to everything you've ever written?
No, because I told it what I needed it to do, and it just wrote the code.
But that's different. That's obeying instructions and giving you a brilliant version of that incredibly quickly. I mean, I'll give you one example. So a friend of my eldest son, his mother was very upset that he hadn't thanked her for a 30th dinner party she threw for him for his 30th birthday. And so eventually he just went on to GP chat. He said, give me a note I can send my mother, right? And he sent it to his mother, this like screen long thing. And she rang him sobbing in tears and said, you've never ever moved me the way you did with this. And he hasn't had the heart to tell her that it was
I guess that secret is busted now.
Yeah, so it was this chat thing, right? So that's the problem, right?
How could you say he hasn't had the heart to tell her? This is my international broadcast, and you're okay.
I haven't named the people concerned for obvious reasons, but you get my point, right?
Yeah. So that's, I think, I would count that as nefarious. It's like it's emotion that he didn't really think or feel. But consider that when ChatGPT arrived and you realize it could compose your term paper, people pooped their pants, okay? Liberal arts folks pooped their pants because they realized, oh my gosh, I've been creating all this stuff and now a machine can do it in seconds. And then I thought, well, suppose I were in their shoes, because I was as a scientist and I saw the computer power encroach into the world. I said, pick something you can give it to do that you didn't want to do anyway, like write instruction manuals.
But is it me or is he dancing around what we're asking him or what Pierce is asking him? But you know what I mean? He's not answering the question. Answer the question.
Or tour guides, or there's plenty of stuff to give AI to do, reserving your own creativity for yourself. Plus, I learned in one of them, where they scanned all these books, what was it, 100-something thousand books, 15 of my books were in that data set. I learned, I'm not in the lawsuit, okay? I just want to see how it unfolds. But I'm intrigued by that, because it means if you ask it questions, some fraction of what it finds to be true or interesting or responsive will be drawn from my content, which are nonfiction books about the universe.
Presumably, it will be able to
including this book, by the way.
Right, and it'll be able to write speeches based on everything you've written, right?
Yes.
You could do a lecture. You could say, give me a 3,000-word lecture based on what I've written about X.
But you know what it's not going to do? It's not, well, not yet. Is it going to invent something new?
Well, that's the question.
Well, that's my point. That's my point. If you
that's what I mean by self-design.
Yeah. Well, no. Okay. So
isn't that what it means?
Suppose you're a naturalist and you on the seashore and you find a new shell that is not yet cataloged, and you call a friend of yours. I found this new shell. That you don't put it on the internet. You just have a new shell, and it develops a whole new understanding of bivalves. If that's not on the internet, your AI will be clueless about it. It'll have no idea.
Okay, but this thing continues to get smarter, right? It evolves. It thinks more. It eventually will think and start questioning things. That's the natural stage of progression. It eventually start looking at us It's already been shown in cases where it lied. The whole CAPTCHA incident where it lied. If it's already able to lie and manipulate, then what's the natural stages of progression from that? It'll get worse, right? Come on.
The AI is not wandering the seashores looking for new science.
No, but you're assuming at the moment that AI is still under our control.
It kind of is. Well,
Because it can't think
it's
for
limited to anything that's on the internet.
Because it can't think for itself.
Outside the internet.
Right. But
I can think outside the internet.
the key question which Stephen Hawking was raising was he believed there would be a time when it could literally think for itself. And at that moment, it would calculate. When it reached that point, the humans were redundant. They were pointless.
Right, so that's a different issue from whether it can invent new knowledge. And to me,
Right, well, I don't see why...
Coming to it as a scientist, we're on the frontier looking where no one has looked before, inventing methods of detection where no one has detected before.
Right.
An AI in a box is not doing that until we offer it that information.
Right.
And so in my field, there are reams of data that we don't have the time or the bandwidth to analyze. We train AI on it, and it helps us figure out what the universe is like, but we are the ones who got the data for it, not it. So for me, that's a fundamental limit to how creative AI can possibly be.
Ever.
Well, yeah, I'm going to say ever, because
Really?
the AI is not walking the beach.
But my brain is telling me it is inevitable that at some stage, hopefully not in my lifetime because I don't want to see it, AI will be able to do stuff completely on its own, originate original thought. And it's at that point...
Make the kill decision on its own.
Yes, and it's at that point Stephen Hawking says, we're done. But you don't think it's going to happen?
Well, I'd like to have more confidence in the capacity of our species to make the right decisions
Really?
than that.
We make so many terrible...
If he makes, I'm getting so frustrated, I'm messing up my screen. Him saying this, it's like saying he has that much confidence in the people. Who's to say? Remember in iRobot when he say my creator, when the robot was saying my creator designed me like this? Who's to say that some scientist somewhere remotely in the world doesn't create a robot that can have feeling, that can think for itself, that progresses in thought and different emotions and feelings and stuff like that? Who's to say one won't do that? He has way too much trust in people, man. And if history hasn't shown you the evils that exist here, come on, man. I never could put that much trust in somebody.
Terrible decision.
We do.
Look at the state of the world.
We do. It's bad.
Awful people doing awful things everywhere.
You know, me and my people, we tend to the universe, and the universe is in good shape, I would say.
Is it?
Y'all are messing up Earth. go back and fix Earth.
Don't just blame me. You're a human being as well.
But I have just an allegory about the robot wielding a gun. Forgive me for not remembering the name of this person who uttered this. But upon realizing that with the power of a bow and arrow, you could kill another human being without actually looking them in the eyes. Mm. And the conclusion was, that's the end of bravery. And so I thought about this. Whoa. Mm-hmm. Any tool where you can kill at a distance, that's cowardly on some level. And the progress of military conflict has been, how far away can you kill at a distance?
Well, you have unmanned drones killing people.
Or missiles, that's intercontinental ballistic missile. Let me kill a whole city, and I'm not even within 5,000 miles of the city. So the fact that a robot is wielding a gun, is that any different from a guided missile? I don't think so.
But the danger comes if the robot with the gun can think for itself and not
take
instructions from a human.
Yeah.
You're couching all your defense of why I shouldn't be worried with, I don't think we're going to reach a point where a robot can make that decision.
You know what it is? We don't.
Right. A missile, we're not designing to think and do different things and operate. So you're comparing apples and oranges right now, Neil. Like, I'm with Pierce so much, like we're in sync, but I don't know what Neil is talking about.
Really fully understand human consciousness. So to suggest that a robot will achieve consciousness and then make moral decisions that weren't otherwise pre-programmed in, I don't know how far in the future that is, but I think we have to understand our own mind first, which we don't. Not at the level we would need to speak with that level of
I think
confidence.
that's right. What scares you most about civilization, the future, the world, the universe?
Yeah, oh, that's a great question. Thank you. I would say we're losing our capacity to distinguish what is true from what is not, what is objectively true. And the methods and tools of science are exquisitely designed to establish what is objectively true.
The data.
And objective truth is, I perform an experiment, I get a result. Other people perform other experiments, get the same result. It repeats, there it is.
How damaging was the COVID pandemic to trust in scientists? Because it obviously followed exactly the path you've just said, where as new information came out and got tested, different scientists would reach different conclusions, then there would be more consensus. But the public are watching all this, and they're thinking, well, how can we trust the science?
Yeah, so some of this is because we as a species have a very poor understanding of probability and statistics. In fact, there's an entire chapter in here called, what do they call it, risk and reward, about you can look at a bar chart and it tells you that you should do this, but someone comes up to you and says, no, don't do that. Look, this would happen to me. I will never do that. This one person out of thousands that might have filled this bar chart will convince you to not follow the bar chart. Because the bar chart doesn't have a face saying, do this, it's better for you. The eyewitness testimony of the individual emotionally overrides actual data. And this is replete across the internet. A person, what's irresistible clickbait? Someone on YouTube saying, the establishment wants you to think this,
yes, of course,
but I've got the answer that they don't want you to know. Clickbait, right there. If we had better tools from the educational system, how to deal with information, data, knowledge, statistics, I think we would be, dare I say, inoculated against the charlatans.
How much of an...
But whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? That we don't have everything we need or the better tools? Answer that one. It ain't on us. We're making do with what we have. We've always been that way. Having to make do with what we got, formulate our own opinions. And now we've come together and started coming together, throwing things out there, trying to see what lands and what sticks. That's the problem. What did you expect for us to do? Continue to trust those who are in power and in position? Why, when we always been lied to?
Enemy to science and the integrity of science is social media in amplifying the conspiracy theories.
Yeah, I don't want to blame social media. It's too easy to blame social media, and I want to blame social media, but I don't.
But isn't it a major part of it? Because
it magnifies. It's a magnifier.
Massively fuels the conspiracy.
It's fuel. It throws fuel on something that I think was already.
Would we ever have had a vaccine that was accepted
there
in social media era? I'm not sure, because you just see that there.
Yeah, if COVID were 50% lethal, yeah.
Yes.
It was low single digits, so that's low enough so people can think that they're not in that low single digits. And everyone who died from not being vaccinated is not writing a book that's anti-vaccine because they're dead. Okay, so dead people don't talk. So there's a one-sided awareness of the value of these advances in medical science. So what I'm, as an educator, I don't like coming after the fact and hitting people on the head. I would ask the educational system, you need to improve people's understanding of what science is and how and why it works. And the communication, I think, could have been a little more respectful of the statistics involved. Here's how, this is in hindsight.
Now we cooking, Neil. Let's stop pointing the finger at us and start pointing some fingers elsewhere. Now you cooking.
Who's thinking this at the time? In hindsight, I would say the CDC or whatever agency it is should come out and say, as of this week, here is what the science tells us. The vaccine is 90% effective at this. It prevents you from going to the hospital. It'll prevent you from dying in this percentage of cases. And there are these adverse effects in this percent of cases. And wear masks or don't wear masks. The data says maybe you should do this. Clean the packages. We all clean the food because they thought it was primarily respiratory rather than also in your blood. Okay. So the next week, more data come in. We've adjusted these numbers. Now, if the public were experienced at interpreting changes in statistical information, then you could trust that everybody would make the right decision in the interest of public health. But we don't have that background. The people delivering information, I think, didn't trust that we would think about the statistics properly, and it became this mosh pit.
When you look at the universe,
Like, yeah, every day.
quite difficult to look at,
Every
but you
day.
spend a lot of time immersed in it. I mean, obviously, we know so much more than we used to. What are the unanswered aspects of it all that you would absolutely love to crack?
Yeah, so I've lived long enough that I no longer
Black holes.
put so much emotion in the unanswered question of the day, because I know it will ultimately be answered. I remember 20 years ago, gee, we need to know how old the universe is. It was uncertain by a factor of 2 for most of my time in graduate school. And now we've got it tight. So that's no longer an interesting question. So for me, the most interesting question is, are we smart enough as a species to answer the questions we've posed? Or perhaps even more than that, are we smart enough to even know what questions to ask in the first place? That's a question about human physiology for me.
Elon Musk is of a view that we need to have our life taken to other planets. And he also says that we are in desperate need of more people, not fewer people on the planet. What do you think of those two things?
It's a matter of, can we sustain a population with the resources we have and our access to it? Some projections show that we'll level off at about 10 billion people on Earth, and I find those projections convincing, unless we double our life expectancy. If we do, and we run out of space, we need another planet. So I kind of like other planets because I'm an astrophysicist.
Where would you most like to live?
There's no choice in the matter. It would have to be Mars.
There's no other option.
No, no.
Could there ever be?
You'd have to go to Venus and try to have it not be 900 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, and I did the calculation. You can cook a 16-inch pizza on the windowsill in 3 seconds. Okay, you would vaporize too, but it's fast. It's in the atmosphere. So no, you don't. Mars has a 24-hour day, approximately. It's tipped on its axis. It has polar ice caps, as we still do for now. On Earth, it goes through seasons. We think there's a reservoir of water that was once there on the surface and now frozen as a permafrost. So if there's any planet that is terraformable, it would be Mars.
See that? See how you kind of got that information after we've been trying to figure out why is there a rush to Mars? You see how you got that information indirectly? You wasn't searching for it, but when we go to search for it, we can never really get the information we're looking for. But now when we're not looking, we get the information. See that? Pay attention to stuff like that.
As another home for folks on Earth. The reason to do it is not to protect our species in case an asteroid comes and hits our Earth. That's the wrong. Fine, it makes a headline.
Come on now.
Think about it. If you have the resources to terraform Mars and ship 1 billion people there, you have the resources to deflect an asteroid from Earth.
Right.
Okay? This is not the.
By the way, you mentioned asteroid. What is the chance of an asteroid smacking into us?
The good thing about
like the movies.
The good thing about this is that the bigger, the badder the asteroid, the farther away we will likely discover it before it does any damage.
But isn't it the less likely that we can protect ourselves, the bigger it is?
No. Well, if we discover an asteroid that might hit us in 150 years, plenty of time to do something about it, given the rate of technology and the ingenuity that we have as a species.
How do you stop a gigantic existential...
Try to knock it off its path. You know what I mean? We got the DART program. We probably could possibly develop some type of telescope, maybe like the James Webb or something else of a big enough size to kind of hit it and kind of maybe see if we can knock it off its path is my thought.
Yeah, it's not a Bruce Willis bomb thing.
So what do you do?
Yeah, you go in and you deflect it.
How?
Oh, by any shove on it that's sideways?
Well, you're president of the United States.
No, well, yeah,
right?
okay.
There's a massive asteroid. It's going to crash into the world.
Yes,
we have the kind of thing we saw with the Bruce Willis movie.
We have engineering plans for deflecting asteroids, and there are multiple ways to do it. You can you can have a gravitational tug, where you can have a spacecraft that sits just ahead of it, and the two of them will want to drift towards one another, but you take the spacecraft and put little retro rocket, and it'll keep, and if you get this early enough, 1 centimeter per second, the tiniest amount will accumulate over time. And you just have to make it so that it overshoots Earth or undershoots Earth compared to the original path.
Come on.
Another answer we got indirectly that we wasn't looking for. Remember how I've been saying, listen, man, we've been looking for some kind of way. Why aren't they telling us what the plans are if something happens? Here it is.
You know the dinosaurs would still be here if they had NASA.
If that NASA.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
So what is the thing that keeps you up at night? What's the thing you're most scared about?
Whether we are wise enough to be shepherds of our own technologies.
And does that come back to the cosmic perspective of us actually recognizing how lucky we are?
Yes. You have to...
And making decisions accordingly.
Where does the wisdom come from? It's not from the internet. It's not from fighting in trenches. It's stepping back and say, oh my gosh, life is precious. Our species is precious. Earth is precious. Earth sustains us with its animal kingdom and plant kingdom and its atmosphere and its oceans. The holistic picture that is, if we don't have the wisdom to understand that and make sure that it sustains us, we don't deserve this planet.
You know why?
I've never said that before. That's mean.
I like it.
No,
No, you're right.
Let me cast that in a positive. To the extent that we can develop wisdom to become better shepherds of our world and our place in it, we will be deserving of an indefinite, unlimited future.
I preferred your first version.
No.
Tough love. It's tough love.
I respect it.
Finally, where can I get one of your ties? That's fantastic. No robot's ever going to choose one of those.
Listen, I respect it. That's pretty much the end of it. I respect it. You know what I mean? My bad, y'all. I get pretty passionate sometimes about certain topics and certain things and certain feelings. You know what I mean? Y'all can understand. But listen, man, some of the questions we've had, he just indirectly answered for us. I've always wondered if we had certain plans for asteroids and stuff like that. We've kind of got little tidbits of information, but never really everything we wanted to know. And there you have it right there of him telling we do have plans that if something like, don't that make y'all feel better? It does. It doesn't 100% guarantee it's going to work. We all know that. But to know we have something in place, come on, man. That's questions that the people deserve to know. So listen, man, y'all get at me in the comment section. Let me know what you thought of this video, and stick around and stay tuned, man. Till next one, I'm gone.